I did my review on The Blind Side. So before we talk about what happens in the movie, I first want to talk about the background information in creating the movie. What helped the movie to happen? The writer and director of the movie is John Lee Hancock, and as you may know, or not know, Hancock also directed the sports drama film The Rookie, as well as a few historical drama films. While in high school, he played football. In addition to that, Hancock's dad was a football player for Baylor and is an NFL veteran, as well as Hancock's brother briefly playing in the NFL. Considering there is a lot of football background in the family, I can understand why Hancock was interested in directing a movie about football, such as The Blind Side. The production company for the movie was Alcon Entertainment, and it was distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. As far as the cast member goes, there were not quite 130 total cast members, so I just want to highlight a few of the main roles. The main cast member, whose life The Blind Side is reflecting and showing, is Michael Oher, who is also known as Big Mike, and he was played by Quentin Aaron. There's a part of the movie representing when Michael was younger, and this is played by Brandon Rivers. Adrienne Lennox is playing as Michael's biological mother, Denise Oher. Sandra Bullock is playing as Michael's adoptive mother, Leanne Toohey. Tim McGraw is playing as Michael's adoptive father, Sean Toohey. Jay Head is playing as Michael's adoptive younger brother, Sean Jr. Toohey. Lily Collins is playing as Michael's adoptive younger sister, Collins Toohey. Ray McKinnon is playing as Coach Cotton. Kathy Bates is playing Miss Sue, who becomes Michael's tutor later on in the movie. Iron E. Singleton is playing as the gang leader, Alton. Like I said, this is just a few of the main cast members. So, the movie reinforces racial ideologies and stereotypes by strengthening the idea that people of color are inferior to whites, since a theme is white people being nice to one person of color. Throughout the movie, white Americans are represented as affluent, normal, hardworking, generous, and sympathetic. But the movie shows African Americans being the opposite, such as lazy, reckless, and uneducated. And based on books that we've read this semester, we have seen how they differentiate between the two like this. People have different cultures, and culture plays an important role in creating the character of a person. Through different cultures, people can still become connected. For example, the Tooheys accept Michael and appreciate his culture, even though his social and family background seem unacceptable due to containing negativity. Once the Tooheys and Michael shared their thoughts and identities, they become related to one another and eventually part of each other's lives. The Blind Side shows the struggle of a black man becoming a part of the white society. Michael Oher shows how a black man experiences mistreatment and discrimination from the white community, which is the common thing of American mainstream. This movie represents the short civil rights movement and the fact that the movement to ensure that whites did not use blacks for the purpose of sports was a shorter-term scenario versus the longer-term movements that lasted for decades. Finally, let's get to the story. When Michael was just 17 years old, he had already been in foster care with different families, which includes being in many different schools due to his mother's drug addiction. Can you imagine? Every time he is placed in a new home, he runs back to his mom, which is understandable considering that is his mom. Michael has been sleeping at his friend's house, whose father, Tony Hamilton, then asks Coach Cotton, who is the football coach at Wingate Christian School, to help him enroll his son and Michael. Even though Michael had a poor academic record, the coach got him admitted because he was so impressed by Michael's size. While at school, a young boy by the name of Sean Jr. Toohey becomes friends with Michael. Not too much after this, the school staff ends up telling Michael that his father had passed away. After a volleyball game one night, Michael was seen by Sean Jr.'s father, Sean, picking up leftover food from the bleachers. Can you imagine this? He just learned that his father had passed away, so that's already hard on him. He has nowhere to go because his mother is a drug addict. It's just hard. And so then, one cold night, Sean Jr.'s mother, Leanne, saw Michael walking alongside the road alone and learned that he planned to sleep outside the school gym that night. So she offered Michael to sleep on the couch in their home. And then the next day, Leanne asked Michael to stay at their house for Thanksgiving. Later on, she drove Michael to his mother's house where he had found an eviction notice posted on the door, which meant his mother was gone. Slowly, Michael began to become a part of the Toohey family because he had nowhere else to go. It becomes very clear that the Toohey family was a very good family for Michael to become a part of, because when Michael appears to be hesitant to use his strength and size while learning to play football, Leanne tells him as an offensive lineman he must protect his quarterback, just like he intends to do with his family. Leanne is always very encouraging to him and supporting him, which is probably what he needed, and so that's really good. And so from that moment on, Michael improved a ton, well enough to play at the college level. With that being said, Michael would have to meet the minimum grade point average to get in, so the Tooheys hired a private tutor for him, Miss Sue. Leanne has a face-to-face conversation with Michael's mother about adopting him, and although she seems unresponsive in the beginning, his mother finally wishes him the best. Michael had been recruited by many prejudiced schools, but he ended up deciding to attend Ole Miss once he got his grades high enough to go. Before the interview was over, Michael ran off and went to confront Leanne about her motives for taking him in. So he then proceeded to go find his biological mother in Hertz Village. A gang leader welcomed him back, offered him a drink, and made offensive comments about Leanne and her daughter Collins. Michael got angry, so the gang leader threatened to go after them, and then Michael battled with him and the other guys that were there. Michael began to think things over and was accepted into college, so then he had to say his goodbyes to the Toohey family. That then brings us to the end of the movie. Once the movie is over, it shows information and pictures of the real Toohey family and Michael Oher. Turns out, the real-life Michael Oher did have some controversy with the movie. He said that he felt like the movie portrayed him as dumb instead of as a kid who never had consistent academic instruction and ended up thriving once he got it. Michael also said, "Quentin Aaron did a great job acting the part, but I could not figure out why the director chose to show me as someone who had to be taught the game of football. Whether it was Sean Jr. moving around ketchup bottles or Leanne explaining to me what blocking is about, I watched those scenes thinking, no, that's not me at all. I've been studying, really studying, the game since I was a kid." That was my main hang-up with the film. Of course, that would be hard when something like a movie is made about you worldwide and all the information isn't even exactly right. Michael began to keep advancing in his football career, and if anything, it was said that the attention from the movie began to frustrate him. He made it to the NFL, and it's already hard enough to stick in the league without the added pressure of a mega hit Oscar-winning movie about his life to draw intentional attention to him in his rookie season. The Blind Side was an excellent hit. It opened in 3,110 theaters on its opening weekend, which was the weekend of November 20th, 2009. In its opening weekend alone, it grossed $34.5 million. By November 27th, 2009, the movie had brought in a total of $60.1 million. The second weekend brought in $40 million, bringing the total gross to $100.3 million. It continued to go up the third weekend by bringing the total gross to $128.8 million. By June 4th, 2010, the movie had reached $256 million. Also going back a little bit, on March 26, 2010, the movie had been released in the United Kingdom and Ireland.